Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I'm your host Carla with a K, and I'm joined here on this fine Sunday evening by Yami. Welcome.
Hi, Carla.
How are you?
I'm good.
How's your day been?
It was really nice. My friends and I went to the Yale Art Gallery. It's really beautiful.
Such a beautiful space.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the Yale Art Gallery on the show before if you're a true fan and actually listen. But this is probably a little bit less than a year ago. Had to go for an assignment, so me and one of my friends went. We planned to go for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed for 6.
There's just so much to see.
There is. We went there and we were like, shoot, parking's about to run out. You want to do another hour? Yeah, sure. So we did. And then go back, run out of time. We can split the next hour of parking. All right, fine, let's do it.
Yeah.
It was really, really pretty.
It's so, I think my favorite was the Greek artwork.
Yes.
They had, and I'm just a big sucker for Greek mythology, because of Percy Jackson.
Continue.
Oh, I'm just a really big fan of Percy Jackson. So, Poseidon and Athena and the Zeus are my favorite gods. So it was nice seeing them.
What was did you like the paintings, the statues?
I think we really wanted to go see this. I forgot what it was, Pacific Islander artwork. I think it's what it was.
Right.
And so that one I think was really neat because we saw the jewelry they wore and everything. And then we saw modern art before the 1990s.
Yeah.
And literally we were just looking at lines that were painted and we're like, we could do that.
Got you.
So I think it's different time periods for me just matter when it comes to the artwork.
Yeah. The phone isn't working, so if you're calling, I'll pick up and talk to you, but it's not gonna broadcast on air. I'm sorry. Emily?
I don't. I know Emily from back home, but I doubt.
Does Emily from back home listen to the show?
I doubt it. If you do, Emily, I love you.
Interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and start off with a song, Yami.
Oh, yes.
What would you like to listen to first?
Did you get the 2 songs I sent you?
Yes.
Okay. The first one is my girl Halsey. Love Halsey so much. I think I put 3 a.m. as one of my favorite songs. I really want to go see her on tour because she's just an amazing artist, an amazing human being. Not that I know her. But.
All right. We'll go ahead. Keep that on. We'll go ahead and play the song while we try to figure out this phone situation. So here y'all go. 3 a.m. by Halsey.
Love her.
That's such a good song. Everything she puts out recently has been a bop. Like you said, how many people can say that?
Exactly. No, her album Maniac, I think, is one of my favorites so far.
Yeah.
Every single song is amazing.
It's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have a lineup of topics and points that we want to hit.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I don't have a creative segue for y'all right now. We were too busy vibing.
Yeah.
But Yami, pick. What shall we converse about first?
Most recent.
Yes.
Pete dropping out of the presidential election.
Pete Buttigieg has officially dropped out of the running. He has retracted his bid. No longer a contender for the next president of the United States.
Yeah.
How do we feel?
Honestly, I had mixed vibes or mixed feelings about him. Mixed vibes. I'm so sorry. I had mixed feelings about him. Just I don't know, as a candidate, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a Bernie Warren person. I'm very I guess liberal in that aspect. So I didn't really care or followed him.
Right.
But I was intrigued as to know why because it was very sudden
out of nowhere.
But then I realized why. Because all the states that Bernie had won are the equivalent to just South Carolina. So now Biden and Bernie are in the exact same spot. And I think Biden has more delegates now than Bernie, even though Bernie's won the last 3. Which just puts everybody else literally nowhere near them.
Right.
So I think that's why.
Which is weird because Pete had been doing really good in the polls.
Mm-hmm. But they were also very white states.
This is true.
So South Carolina was the first state that represented kind of the country, which in its mixed voters. Mm-hmm. So I guess that just kind of represented that.
Yeah, and like you said, South Carolina has been won by Biden, surprisingly enough, who I guess this is a big shoot up for him.
Oh, yeah. He knew he was going to get it, too.
Yeah, he was real confident.
Yeah, I think Mondo just pulled up a chart and yeah. Wait, what does it say? I can't read it.
All right, so out of 149 delegates declared, Bernie currently has 58. Biden has 50.
Yeah,
Buttigieg
so
only had
South
26.
Carolina made a huge difference.
So that's insane.
Yeah.
And Warren's falling way behind. She's only got 8.
I know. That's crazy, though.
Yeah. So
Armando's just surprised.
Armando's sitting in the studio. You guys have met him before. He's been on the show with Javi. But yeah, that's a crazy leap for this kid.
Exactly.
Like, that's insane to
That's
me.
crazy, right? Because like Bernie had won the 3 states, so everybody's like, "Oh, Bernie."
Yeah.
But literally one state knocked him off because he just didn't appeal to like.
And see, okay, so here's what I will say about the 3 currently being discussed. Warren was my favorite from the start. I feel like to the public she's not relatable. Yeah. Because she is very like much a politician in every sense of the word, but also she's very she knows she does her job well, I guess, and she didn't really campaign a lot. But anyway, so Pete Buttigieg, originally I thought he was a solid contender, you know, just small town mayor, didn't want to run on a platform, but rather let his policies speak for him, right? But then it got kind of repetitive. And then the election cycle started picking up, and he just started kind of trash talking other candidates. And I'm like, bro, we don't even know what you stand for. So how are you going to sit here and talk about others when no one even has anything to say about you? Biden, last election cycle, yes. Yeah. This election cycle, no. It's sad. It's sad because at his peak, I guess, he seemed like he was solid. And now it's just like, I don't want to say like age is getting the best of him, but there's just...
I was really excited for when he announced. I was like, yes, this is what I wanted after like
You're
Obama.
A Biden stan.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And then he just kept talking and making appearances, and I was like, ooh.
Politicians are so solid, and then boom, they start talking.
Exactly.
Awful. And then Bernie has... I originally was not like the biggest Bernie fan either.
Yeah,
like I didn't hate him. I just was like, I don't know if he's got what it takes to win. I don't know if he's got the support. Now I don't care, bro. Like his platforms, his activism, his
just his track record in general.
His track record is the word I was looking for. Like as a standalone candidate, like if not like putting him against an opponent, against anyone else, he himself, like solid candidate.
Yeah.
I just this recent news has kind of shaken up my faith in him.
I know,
but we'll see as this story keeps developing.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's interesting that Biden won South
I know,
Carolina.
Right? Okay, I watch these things like on Snapchat, like Good Morning America. I think is what it's
like
called.
Little news blurbs.
Yeah, and I think the host was mentioning how something that like caught a lot of voters in South Carolina to vote for Biden was the endorsement of I think a congressman or something, and he was like a very big civil rights activist. Right. And the second that he like last minute supported Biden, that's when everybody started like voting for Biden.
But that's interesting because, like you said, Bernie's track record, he has also been a pretty like strong activist and advocate for like less fortunate communities, and like. I mean, the proof is there. He's been in marches. He's been in protests. He's been like...
He's the perfect candidate.
Yeah. And so for it to go to Biden, who kind of has a history of not doing as much as Bernie has, like, it's interesting to see him win.
Yeah. In a perfect world, I would love Bernie to win. Just because his ideas is everything that I believe in. You know, like... And he has a plan for everything. His policies in general are just amazing.
I think what people are scared of is the word socialism.
Yeah. And how extreme it could get. But like, think about it. Just because he gets elected doesn't mean everything he's gonna promote now is gonna get done. Yeah, exactly. There's still the checks and balance that's in the Constitution.
Like he's not gonna come and take your money. You don't make enough for it to affect you.
Unless you're Jeff.
Unless you're Bezos, in which case, even if it affects you, it really won't.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video that's been going around?
The rice video? Yeah. Yeah, because my math teacher explained in my freshman year, like what a billion genuinely means. Blew my mind.
We talked about this a little, I think, during our season finale. There's a website where you can kind of spend to see how much a billionaire has, and you can buy literally everything on the website and still not have made a dent in that billion.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That's, you could buy like a whole NFL team and still have so much money left over. Like that's
it's just
crazy.
pocket change.
Yeah, literally pocket change.
Mm-hmm.
There's also I wanted to mention something else, but whatever. Like people are genuinely like so concerned with a word, but if you explain a lot of like these I guess policies and plans to somebody, they kind of really like, and I've tried this before, like people will kind of agree like, okay, yeah, you know, like it benefits both the system and the individual human. And then you tell them, oh, well, you just listen to some democratic socialism. They're like, what, me? No, never. Actually, I have a problem that I didn't want to mention before. It's like, then they want to backtrack.
I love your hand motions.
Yeah, if only the live stream was up and running. When that's fixed, you guys are gonna see how much more like hype we are in the studio than our voices may or may not convey.
I think you and I agree on a lot of things. And something that never mind. I don't want to talk about it.
No, go ahead.
No, okay, because I like to learn from my mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the best thing you can do as a person is just be open-minded, you know? And, like, as long as, like, you're not offending the other person to, like, an extreme level, but just be open-minded, express your opinions, you know, say, like, I believe this and I believe that, right? So I for a minute, I would just be like, I don't believe billionaires should exist. I don't believe someone should hold that much money.
Right.
And because a lot of them don't pay the taxes that the average American does, so it's not fair that a billionaire doesn't even pay half of what the regular American pays, right?
Right.
And so one day I was just sitting down with Armando, and he was like, you know, you should really watch the way you word things, because the way that you say it, it's kind of threatening. You don't believe a billionaire should exist.
Stop.
Exactly. And that just got me thinking. I was like, okay, it's about the wording that you convey your message, right?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, you know what, fine. Like, billionaires can exist. Just pay your taxes. Pay what you should pay, you know?
Yeah.
Like, be held accountable. If you're making billions, pay what you're supposed to, like,
right.
And everything. But I feel like that just ties into, like, Bernie, because sometimes he doesn't watch what he says. He just says it, like, from his head. And, like, he just has, like, a really good heart.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I just feel like when he just says some certain things, they're seen as, not as a threat.
They're like,
but they're just like
too radical.
Yeah, they seen it as too radical. So I feel like if he watched the way he phrased things, and he started over, like if he had a reset button.
I disagree with, because at this point, this conversation has been had so many times, and if you don't say things in a shocking way, people don't listen.
But he's not gonna get enough support for the Democratic Party because
This is true.
Because think about it. The reason that we discuss certain topics now in the elections is because of Bernie. Bernie literally shifted the conversation more to the left, right? To talk about like universal health care, like more like this, more that.
Yeah.
So he has been a tremendous like impact on the Democrats. But the Democrats aren't ready for anything too liberal. Everybody agrees that they want a moderate, right?
Facts.
But for me, like, I would vote for Bernie if I could in a heartbeat, right?
And the thing is, Bernie's not even particularly that left. It's just that we haven't had a candidate be so outspokenly left instead of moderate, because a lot of the like Democratic candidates that we've had have been pretty close to center. And for like, it's crazy that the most insane idea right now is people deserve rights. People deserve healthcare. Yeah. People deserve to be, you know, comfortable and alive.
People are like, what I've realized is people fear change.
Yeah, but they don't want to go through the progress to get to the change. Yeah,
but change is literally what gets us here. If you don't change, if you don't grow, then you're never going to progress.
And I think people are also uncomfortable with the idea of an adjustment period. Yeah. Because it's not going to go straight from here to there. Like, there's steps along the way.
Look at the New Deal. Like, it seemed so radical during that time. Like, everybody, like, Social Security. Yeah. And, like, and all of these benefits. They were like, no, that's, like, no. But in the long run, look what it's done.
Yeah. It's frustrating to see, and people don't want to take the time to like learn and it is a lot to keep track of, honestly. Like, if you want to care, I mean, you should care about politics because, you know, you're a human being alive in the world living under a government that controls every aspect of your life. But
it's a privilege if you don't.
Yeah, if you really think you're so unbothered, then at least take the time to, I guess, learn how to back up what you stand for, right? Because if you're just like, oh, you know, this has been my entire life, but why? You know, like, why do you think that this is a bad idea, or why do you think it's a good idea? It doesn't take much more than a Google search like nowadays. Yeah. So. Facts. Yeah. So. I'm still shook about Biden.
I know. Jackson texted me. He's like, Guess Who just dropped out, and I was like, no. I thought he was gonna say like Warren, so I was like, no. But it was just Pete, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. But he really liked Pete.
I know. We had this conversation. He was like, oh, you don't like him? I was like, not anymore.
Yeah.
I did a whole project on this man.
You're like, I know the details.
Yeah, this is a year ago, I think. No, it was over a year ago.
He's been in the election for like a year, like 322 days. So almost a year.
Yeah.
Don't ask how I know. I just saw a post. I don't actually track how many days he's been running.
Yami keeps track of every single candidate statistics.
God, no.
You know how people did that for Pokemon? Yami does that for politicians.
No, God, no.
Insane. Yeah, I don't know what else to say on this topic. I have a lot to say, but we don't have time to unpack all of it.
We could literally talk about politics just in general for like hours.
But time is ticking, so on to the next. Would you like to do a song break, or would you like to just
I feel like we should have a song break, the next song, because it would transition into the movie.
Into the next. Yeah. Okay, so cultural segue. What are we listening to next?
Okay, so my babies, BTS, they just dropped a new album, Map of the Soul 7 because there's 7 members. They debuted 7 years ago, and I forgot what the other reason was. But it's, I think, one of their last albums before one of them goes off to the military. Yeah. And this song just kind of like talks about their journey. The music video is amazing. And yeah, it's it's one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's the one that's like being mainstreamed right now. So I thought,
All right. So here I'll go On by BTS. Of course, Yami put BTS on the show.
Of course.
But there y'all go. Always bops, dude. Yes. I don't think they're capable of making not a hit.
They have literally not a single bad song. I don't care what anybody says.
And Yami said that's on South Korea.
And that's...
So, Yami, you're a fan of K-pop, but also South Korean culture in general.
Yes. I have watched so many Korean dramas since I got into BTS. It's crazy. Yeah. And just like the language, the culture. I feel like I've learned a lot just about like, because obviously every region is very different, but South Korean in general, it's just like, it fascinates me.
Right. It's your current fixation.
It is.
I've really just... obviously, you can't really exist in today's day and age without having heard anything literally by BTS. But as far as like other content goes, I really only watched like what people have like made me watch. Or we watched Parasite, of course.
Oh my God, amazing!
We couldn't not. It was nominated for so many things, and
we wanted to see the hype.
We wanted to see if it lived up to the hype, and honestly, it did.
Below my expectations.
Yeah, for sure. Talked about it a little bit on the show, I think, last week. But honestly, like, it deserved its win. Before this, I was really rooting for Joker just because I thought as a film it was amazing. But Parasite, I think, deserved everything just because it was so different from everything else. Granted, all the other movies were pretty unique this year too, but Parasite just kind of had it all, a little bit of everything.
I feel like it was very refreshing. Like, it's a genre that it had like elements of comedy, and so you were like laughing sometimes, but you're like, wait. And then there were parts where like the suspense would just like kill you, but it was like it shouldn't, because it was just kind of like a normal scene. But the way everything was shot, like, it was just a masterpiece. The cinematography
of that film was everything in the movie was symbolic too, which is I think what took me away. Even from the title, it's called Parasite.
And remember, we had our hypothesis or like our theories about that. We're like, wait.
I know we were talking to one of our friends I don't remember who, but we were talking to one of our like mutual friends about Parasite, and I'm like, oh, isn't that like a horror movie about like parasites? And we were like, no, it's like about it was like about class systems and stuff.
It was him.
Was it you?
Yeah. He said, yeah. He asked what it was about. He's like, is it about like parasites, germs? We're like, no, not actually.
I forgot.
Like,
I think Yessie said that too.
Yeah, it might have been Yessie. It was either Mondo or Yessie. It was one of them.
Maybe both.
Well, it might have been Yessie.
I think so. She's not like the only one either. Yeah. Like, a lot of people thought it was like going to be a horror type film, but it kind of was. It's so it's officially categorized as a thriller / drama / comedy, which is bizarre because the comedy in it is really like comedic relief, and it takes place mostly at the start of the film, right? And then as it like, we talked also about how like it was hard to sense when the movie was going to reach its peak, because you're like, okay, there's no way it could get more intense than this, and it just kept climbing.
I told you, like, I feel like it had 2 climaxes, and then Monica started adding science, but
yes, bimodal.
I felt like the middle, like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched it, but if you haven't watched it, like,
the Oscars have passed. It's high time. Well, I guess we
for
really shouldn't spoil it until you said it comes out on Hulu.
Hulu. Then I'll like
spoil it. Really. Come back on the show just to spoil
spoil Parasite. No, like there was one part towards the middle. I know that you and me were like, oh my gosh, it cannot get more intense. I think it's like the big reveal.
Right.
Then we were like, whoa, okay, that's the climax. And then out of freaking nowhere, the ending came, and we were like, wait, was that the climax of the movie? Like, how is it possible that like it kept you on your feet literally the entire time?
We were so shook that we watched it a second time to be like,
we paid a second time.
We rented it. We didn't even bootleg. We rented it on Amazon twice. We're like, we really could have just bought the movie for this amount. But like, so the first time we watched it, I didn't think I'd liked it, to be fair. Like, I was just like, this movie was just a lot. And then we dwelled on it for a few days, and then later I ran back into Yami, and she was like, yeah, I kind of wanted to see it again. And I was like, okay, low key, me too, because now I want to like analyze it. And so we did. And the second time around, it was kind of convinced me like, okay, this is a film, like film TM.
I know, because the first time we watched it, you like analyzed, like, look at the way it's being shot, look at this, look at that, and I was
there's one particular like camera angle in which the kid's going down the stairs, he's going away, and you see the lady of the house at the top of the stairs, and like an idea clicks in his head, and he's like, actually, I know somebody, and the camera shifts in a way that puts him like at the same level as her, and it's symbolic because it's showing that he has found a way to like claim power over her,
and it does
so it sets them as equals. And it does that with a lot of them. So like that shot right there is what had me like, okay, now I'm in to like actually pay attention.
And the light bulbs.
Oh, right.
Light bulbs.
If you know. Watch the film if you haven't, honestly.
It really upset me that Trump said that, like, how did a South Korean film win or something? He like Gone with the Wind, like, should have won, like that type of age, and we're like, like what? Like it won not because of where it came from, but because of the masterpiece that it was. And if like America would be more inclusive of other cultures,
like the director said, if people would just get over their aversion to subtitles, they'd be able to watch so many more films. Instructions not included. Eugenio Derbez, I think, should have deserved a lot more.
People watch Narcos, and they don't have a problem with that, right? So it's kind of like they're willing to, but some people just like refuse to like watch anything that requires
especially
subtitles.
A movie which makes you sit down for like 2 hours and like actually pay attention. But at the same time, like, it was really well worth it. And so I saw a tweet that was like, Trump probably didn't like Parasite because he was rooting for Jojo Rabbit, which is a movie about Hitler. And so I was like, oh, no.
Thanks.
But yeah, and a lot of people had the same thing. Like, there was also like this viral clip of this guy like just going off about how Parasite didn't deserve it. He had never seen it, but he thought Joker deserved it.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. And I'm like, if you haven't seen the film, like, how are you gonna judge it?
Yeah, like, I saw that video and I was like, this is kind of funny, just because like it's just this guy ranting. But at the same time, like, honestly, like, there were arguments made. It was just bad arguments.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Honestly, it really, really, like, it kind of just opened the doors, I think, for a whole new genre of movies. And hopefully it does that for international films as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would be cool to see what other countries come up with, because storylines are always different. Like, American films typically have a traditional 3-story arc happy ending.
Yep.
But movies from outside of the States don't really depend on a happy ending, which is insane.
I feel like that's why I really like Korean dramas, because one of them that I watched that is the most memorable to me is Goblin, and then the other one is The Smile Has Left Your Eyes.
Right.
And they're both like written so well, and it's not like a happy ending type of thing. It's more realistic than that. And like a lot of Korean dramas, some of them have the cliche like girl boy fall in love, other people like them, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But there are some like some American films as well, but like other international films where it's more so like of the writing and of the style and of the creativity that I feel like just attracts you more. And if you're like the director of Parasite said, if you're willing to look past the subtitles, you'll see the other cultures have other things to offer as well.
Right. It's like a whole world out there. Like literally it's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
A lot of content that we just kind of overlook.
But I know people of South Korea were really, really like proud to be Korean when the film won. Like, because I wasn't expecting it to win.
Yeah.
You know, I was expecting like to win one award. Like the director said.
I thought it would win like Best Director, Best International Film for sure.
Yeah.
It won Best Overall Picture.
Yeah, I feel like that like blew everybody like out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it really had a massive impact. And it is a good movie. The messages that it carries as well.
And the acting.
The acting was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's so many different aspects to like read into. It's been a while since the movies made me do that. Like like I said, Joker, of course. Like I was a fan. I feel like I don't know if you like it or not. I don't know how you are with superhero movies.
I love superheroes. I like the original Joker with Heath.
Well, he's not the original.
Okay,
like
but in my eyes, he's my original Joker.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of people's favorite as well, but Joaquin Phoenix, dude, what a legend.
I know.
I don't know. Like, all the movies that were nominated were really... I didn't see all of them, but, like, from the trailers and from what people were saying and from the awards that they'd won already, like, it really was anyone's game.
Yeah.
So that's why it was so impressive. But
Max.
final statement is just do yourself a favor and watch Parasite, even if you wait for it to come on Hulu, even if you stumble upon it on a sketchy link. This podcast does not advocate bootleg, but you know, if you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, and I feel like give it like a good 30 minutes in, because it has to build up. Like you have
the
to
start is kind of slow.
Yeah, the start is... That's a lot of Korean dramas and movies though. Like they're kind of slow. They kind of build up to where they're getting, but it's important that you watch the beginning.
Yeah, all of it has like
to understand
contextual information. It's all foreshadowing too.
Facts.
Ugh, awful, but well worth your time. It's worth your time.
Oh yes, I agree.
Speaking of slow build up and spending time doing things, I hate how like bad these segues are. But I can't get rid of them. You know, it's currently Lent season, which is a slow progress that takes time.
I really hate your transitions. I was like on the edge. I was like, oh really? What are we talking about?
Some of the transitions I think are good. I want to make a video clip of like the good segues versus the terrible like cringe like get off the air segues. But it is Lent season.
It is.
And we are both of to some degree of the Catholic faith.
My mom's been super religious since I was like born, so like I think I'm a little bit more religious than most people, but everybody that I know kind of like believes.
My family, like, we grew up Catholic. We not necessarily like going to church every single week, etc. But you know, we believe what we believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Baseline is God is real.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not like the most like fanatic, I guess, about organized religion, but Lent is something that I personally like out of it all. We went to the Ash Wednesday Mass. I went with
Father Larry.
Yeah, here at school. And he said something that I liked because it resonated with the reason that I partake in Lent, which is it's not about making yourself miserable. It's not even about sacrifice. It's about making yourself a better person. And that's kind of my viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
And my mom, like, too, she's like, for example, the no eating meat on Fridays, or like going vegetarian for it. My dad's like, that really doesn't matter if it's not like changing you, if it doesn't mean anything to you. Like, why would you? My dad was the one that would mostly like tell us, like, you know, the teachings of the Bible, etc. My mom was like, well, you know, it's just kind of like a thing, right? So like there's different like opinions there in the house, but
I feel like for me, religion has just always been like a topic that my family has had, because like my grandparents were really like Catholic. My mom, like, she didn't take us to church growing up a lot until like she hit a like rock bottom, I guess you could say, and she like found God. But she was religious up until that point, but it wasn't like going to church every Sunday, you know. It was just kind of like going every so often. But after she went to this retreat and really connected to her spiritual side, she like took us to church more often. And Lent was always like a big thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
And something like you said, the Father Larry said that I thought was really interesting too. He said that it's not about boasting, like, oh, I'm giving this up for Lent, or I'm doing this Lent, or I'm gonna be a better person because of it. Because he's like, at the end, it's like God who will see your efforts in silence. You know, like you can boast about it, but not really change. But if you work on it in secret and you do change, he knows, like he sees, you know?
Yeah, it's not meant to be performative. It's supposed to be, I guess, progress. Progress seems to be a topic today, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, progress is our topic today.
There we go. Our theme.
But yeah, I feel like that just resonated with me a lot, because sometimes like you see people boasting about it, and it's kind of like, that's great if that's what you want to say and do, but like take also the important message of like, it's not to make yourself miserable, but it's so that at the end you're closer to God and you're a better person, like you're a better you. You know, you didn't do it to brag about it, but you did it to be the best version of yourself by the end. Yeah.
So I guess for those of y'all that don't know what Lent is, we should probably start with an explanation.
Sorry.
So Lent is 40 days from Ash Wednesday to Good Friday, which is the Friday before Easter, of I guess sacrifice, right? Like you give something up that means something to you, but also something that you think is hindering you in your supposed quest to be a decent human being. And additionally, like one of the, I guess, rules of it is originally like going vegetarian, but now just going pescatarian on Fridays. But that's like kind of just the quick summary of it, I guess. That's also pretty much all I know about it, I guess. I will say there are, of course, external issues with this. So the whole like meatless Fridays and only eating fish thing in Mexico, I don't know if it was the Pope, but like it had to be kind of like a thing where like just give up pork and red meat, because the people that like sell like seafood and fish would like bump the prices up so high during Lent that it just was kind of unattainable for a lot of people. And so, you know, the world likes to take advantage of situations when it comes to money.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't know. For me, every year I give something up, but this year, I'm giving up some bad habits I've been having this school year. But it's also like people assume that, you know, for Lent you have to give up something physical. Like I have to give up meat. I have to give up, you know, going out. I have to give up buying this, buying that.
Okay.
But it's also like not just about that. So for me, I mean, it can be like if that's what you want it to be, but it can also be other things. Like for me, I'm giving up gossiping, or like trying to limit what I say and how I say things. Because sometimes, you know, you don't realize when you're gossiping. So something that I'm doing is like, instead of gossiping, I'm gonna like try to not say anything and instead counter that with positive things.
Okay.
Because that's like me as a person. Like I never want to put dirt on anybody's name or like talk bad about anybody. But sometimes you just catch yourself talking about people. Like, and everybody does it. Like you can't say you don't talk about people, because that's a lie. Like don't.
If you interact with other human beings, other human beings will come up in conversation.
Exactly. And so for me, it was just kind of like just watching how I say, and just to be more of a positive person, and like to maintain like good mentality, like check on all my friends, check on me. For Lent, that's just kind of what I'm like giving up. It's giving up that negative energy and that negative mentality. Yeah. And that's something that people wouldn't assume that you would give up for Lent. They would assume like you're just giving up like meat or like this or that. But I'm like, it's more than that. So that at the end, I'm a better version of me. Like I don't care if you don't see that, but if I feel it and I know that I've done it, then that's the point. And
it's kind of like the New Year's resolution thing, right? Where like you change something about yourself and people are like, well, why are you waiting for a deadline to do it? Why don't you just, you know, start that change whenever? But I feel like the point of having, I guess, these symbolic dates is just that it gives you an added, I guess, motivator or factor to make you like stick to it, right? Like today is the day. And that way it gives you kind of like a framework for starting this journey for yourself. So back in 2016, I gave up political discussion because obviously it was a very maybe it was 2015, but it was a very
I think was it after or before the election?
It was around the time of the election.
So probably either 15 or 16.
Yeah, it was 2015 or 16, but that entire point in time was just filled with a lot, because it was the first presidential election that we were living through. So yeah, because I would have been turning 18 in 2015, so it was around that time, right? And so it's all over the news, of course, and we all grew up with social media. And so I would be the type to see something and immediately hit Twitter with it, or like share an article on Facebook. And if somebody commented something, I would be like, oh, well, but actually, like, my life was kind of consumed by it. And I was like, honestly, this is a good thing to give up, because, like, obviously I'm still going to watch the news. I'm going to like stay updated on what's going on, but I don't need to be arguing with everyone, especially whenever it's not even a productive conversation. And I think about it a lot right now, in times like right now. I don't know. I don't want to say like polarizing climates, because I hate the word polarizing. But just in times when people are kind of forced to show their true colors.
I feel like, okay, not to change the topic, but to kind of drive it in a different direction. For me, obviously politics have always been like a huge factor in my life, and in my parents' life, and like everybody that I knew in high school.
Right.
So I always had an opinion on topics, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like my ideas, if anything, have become more like intellectual. Like I've learned more as a human being, but the ideologies that I've had have been consistent. You know, my parents are very conservative in some aspects. I'm like this, like if you get to know me, like I'm very, very liberal. Yeah. But that's just because like I want everybody to thrive. I want everybody to be happy. You know, that's just me as a person. But something that really, really bothered me, but I never knew how to express it until I met my mentor, Yami, was activism, right? Because people would always tell me, you're really like outspoken, you're really like this, you're really that in high school. Like I would just always have an opinion on things, right? Yeah. And so people would see me as a face of this issue. Like in high school, it was immigration, and then it was the gun reform when the shooting in the high school in Florida happened. Right. Like they were like, Yami, you know this, you know that. And so they would expect me to get up in front of the entire school and give speeches and be this like outspoken activist. But that terrified me. Like I was like, I'm not a crowd person. Like it terrifies me to be in front of like a huge crowd, right? Yeah. So people would label like activism just as leading a march or like being the center of that whole movement. Right. And it wasn't until I met Yami where she would kind of made her art her activism. Yeah. So it wasn't about taking to the streets, So like I've learned and I've grown because of that, and I've seen people shame other people for not partaking in a march or for not grabbing a megaphone and yelling into it, Not just in every situation, like the women's right, like the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the immigrant movement.
You don't have to be the loudest voice, dude.
Exactly. And
your support is enough.
And so like I've had like this semester, I had somebody say a comment about one of my friends, so like, why isn't she being part of this or why that? And I'm like, if they want to partake in something, they can, but you can't tell them you don't care about this topic or you're not an activist because you're not on the front line. Like that's BS, you know. Like they can do it through social media, they can do it through sharing posts or just like having those conversations. Like an activist does not mean that you have to be the leader of this movement. And it just bothers me when people put a label on that and they're like, you're not an activist or you don't care because you're not partaking in it. And it's like, no, like not everybody's a crowd person. Like I wasn't until this semester,
Activism is just action.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be like on the front lines.
Yeah.
Front lines. Sorry.
Front lines, yeah. And also to add to that, like some people can't, they would put themselves at risk, and that's not a risk that everyone has to take. And not everyone has to, I guess, give it all up for the cause because not everyone can afford to. Exactly. And if you have the privilege to do so and you want to, that's on you. If you have the privilege to do so but that's just not your scene, you also don't have to, and people shouldn't guilt people for it either. It's kind of like to each your own, like if you are like that brave person and you have the guts, then you do it, right? And then if you're not, you don't have to. Like somebody that I like really admire is Britney, the president of Freedom. Like I love Britney, and like she like was doing the leading the protest for
what was it, the Undocu rally that we had a couple weeks ago, right? So she was like at the head of it, and for like a minute I didn't want to partake in like anything that kind of put me out there, just because I was like really scared.
Right.
But I remember that in high school I regretted it. Me as a person, like I regretted not being the one that held like the megaphone, that held the poster, because I was scared, in high school, of being targeted. But I've grown, in what I believe and what I'm comfortable with, and I would never put that on anybody else, like I would never tell my friends, if you don't do this, then that means you don't care.
Right.
And I guess that just really bothers me, because like it bothers me when people like shame other people for like, maybe somebody just has really bad social anxiety.
It's not that people don't care about politics. Some people just don't want to be involved in anything at all, right? But like, it would be great if people spoke out for what they believed in, or like you said, just have the conversation with the people that matter. But to shame someone for not doing more, not doing enough, that's where I think
for me that's the line.
That's understandable.
Like, because I'm like, if you want to like be next to me as we're partaking in like this movement, I'm all for it. But if you're not comfortable, like I'm not gonna say anything. It's like, because everybody deals with activism in different ways. Like Yami does it through art. She paints. So if you see her work, she's painting, and every painting that she has, every mural has a message. That's her form of activism. Activism through art, activism through writing, through posts, through like everything. It's not just one like solidified definition.
Right. Yami Cambron, I think, is most known currently for her what is it? The Liberation Monarch?
The Liberation Monarch.
Yeah, so you might have seen that around the internet, or if you live in she's from Atlanta?
Yeah.
Atlanta area. But it's like half a monarch butterfly, the other half is like an open book. Meaning that, well, you can explain it. You know it better.
So the way that she explained it to me was that it's a half book, half monarch. The monarch obviously represents immigration of the butterflies from, I forgot the where they start.
Canada to Mexico.
Yeah, it's one particular part in Mexico though. Oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry, brain fart.
Monarchs.
But yeah, they migrate, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like everybody migrates. Borders are established through societies and through like governments. They're not like the only man-made, like they're
man-made.
They're man-made is essentially what I'm trying to say. But the other part, the book represents the education. So education is one thing that nobody can ever take away from you. Like that's
knowledge is power.
Yeah, knowledge is power. And so that's kind of what the monarch meant, like the Liberation Monarch means. It's kind of like your education is your liberation.
Right. And she did that to advocate, right, for immigrants to have access to education.
But it's more so like she was going through a lot, because when DACA was introduced, I think she was like graduating college or something, but she had like all of these emotions and like these frustrations with the lack of movement. Oh, Michoacan. Yes, that's where it's from. Thanks,
Mom.
Oh, yeah, and she just like wanted to do something, but I don't think she was like ready to like take in our marches. So she's like, what's another way for me to like do? So she created the Monarch. So she did it through artwork.
Yeah, which is super, super cool.
She's in Harvard
Harvard,
right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy because she was my like art school teacher, and then it's weird.
High school art teacher.
Yeah, wow. And so like I would just hang out with her. She would take me to eat tacos. One time, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, she let me drive her car. But
crazy.
Like I was still in high school.
Wow.
Wait, was I in high school or did I come for a visit? One of those two. I'm just say that I came for a visit. Just for the purposes of the show.
The show does not.
I came for a visit and she like let me drive her. So she was like my mentor, right?
Yeah.
And now she's like making money by like being a speaker, like sharing her story, traveling from like one side of the country to the other. Like so she's like living.
So she gave a talk at Harvard as part of their like immigration series, immigration speech series, right? Which is
she's also been like a Texas UNM. She's been in Miami. California. This woman has become the butterfly, and she's moving.
She has become the butterfly. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. And her murals are all over the A, as y'all call it.
Yeah, the big A.
But yeah, she's super cool, super inspirational.
Maybe, hopefully, one day you might meet her.
Fingers crossed. Well, Yami, as our time draws to a close, do you have any final statements, thought, closing remarks, etc.? We've kind of hopped all over the place.
Yes.
It's been not a very structured show, but an interesting one nonetheless.
Yes. Nothing. It's the beginning of March, so I hope everybody that's listening has a very happy, productive March filled with positivity and just really good things. Like, I feel like sometimes we just focus on the negative. Yeah. So I want people to like turn those negative thoughts into positivity and have an amazing month.
Right. I just want to say before today ends, happy birthday, Justin Bieber.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Biebs. We've been on a break for a minute, but it's okay. Your new album made up for it.
Yeah, had some solid
we didn't talk about the album. That would have been good.
Changes.
We had a listening party for it.
We did. Really well, we were going to listen to it that night, and then we were like, it's late. Yeah. So in the morning, we were just like, all right, we'll listen to it in the morning. So
it was really good, though.
Yes. Well, we are seconds from hitting the end of our time. So, as always, thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course.
For discussing a lot of topics and topics that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Yami, thank you. And if you were listening, follow us on Twitter at podKast by K, stylized as PODKASTXK. You've been listening to WBCS 90.1 FM. This has been Podcast with a K, and I am your host, Carla with a K, signing off. Have a fantastic week. Bye.